I call the Washington County Board of Education meeting to order. After a moment's silence, Mr. Hammond, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, sir. Please stand and join in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Hammonds. Approval to award the bid for ionization units. Guess I'll turn that over to you, or
Yes,
Whitney,
sir.
or
You know, Dr. Adams can lead that as far as the bid, and if there are any questions, you know, we have representatives here to answer, but we had one bidder, ESG. The actual amount was lower than what we anticipated in the sense of what was projected. So certainly it's on the agenda, and we recommend the board consider approval of this bid for ionization units being installed.
Can you tell us what it was? I haven't seen it.
Yes, sir. If you'll
I
pull
mean,
it
how
up.
much the bid was?
$150.
Yes, sir.
$686,491.
Which, my understanding of projection, at least what was anticipated,
Right
was
around
somewhere around 1,000 per unit, and this
Yes.
was at approximately a little over 600 per unit. Less than what we anticipated.
Mr. Fleener?
The low bidder put these in at Florence County Schools, Bradley County Schools, partially in Cleveland County, Anderson County, Oak Ridge, Bristol, Virginia, and Bristol, Tennessee.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Fleener?
Can we get, I'm on page 9, I'm looking, but there were some schools that we didn't want them to put in, right? We didn't want to put them in
Jonesboro.
Jonesboro, Midway, and Asbury, correct? Is that right, Mr.
I
Boyd?
believe because of the future plans of those facilities.
Is that correct? Is that, I'm looking, but I ain't found it yet.
We did add, based on the last meeting, we did put them in at Midway. That was our understanding. We're putting them in Jonesboro because we wanted to have all equal treatment of the air and the conditions until such time as make the changes or do a new school or do renovations, but that equipment can be relocated to new units. They
Okay.
can be used at new units.
Okay.
So it's transferable.
Is that kind of, I mean, have we already talked to the Jonesboro officials about moving them over to the new school and making sure that those units will, I know it's a different bunch, but can you speak to that?
I don't, to my knowledge, there hasn't been any conversation directly with that design committee
Okay.
for Jonesboro Elementary.
So this is every school we have. Asbury, though, no, correct?
I think I agree.
Asbury is on our,
Woods Creek Elementary, the old one, that does not have.
is not on our.
Correct.
You said we were great.
Yeah, the
I
old
was
one.
thinking of the new one.
The round.
Right. So, I don't know, I don't know what the thoughts are on everybody else, but do we want to spend it for those 3 schools or 4 schools, knowing that in 2 years we wouldn't use them there?
But what he said, it can be transferred. So why not go ahead and do it? And then whenever we get this mess with Jonesboro took care of, then we tell them to take that out there and put it in the new school.
Do we know if it's in the process already going to Jonesboro?
The ionization units,
Uh-huh.
I do not know the answer to that.
I mean, I'd hate to go ahead and put them in Jonesboro and then have them in the old one, then, you know, what are you gonna do when we take it out?
if it's gonna save them money, they're gonna take it out because they're making our school smaller and smaller, so. I said put them in there because they deserve a clean air.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong, I agree with that,
Yeah,
but
right
I just
now-
don't want to double buy,
I understand.
you know.
And that's something we can make them aware of, that can be transferred. But right now, you know, the Jonesboro's need it.
Right. Well,
Oh, yes, I agree
As long
with
as
that.
students are gonna be there, if the intent is to address the air quality,
Right.
and we don't know how long they're gonna be there.
We don't know
Because
how
of
long
the
they're gonna be
project
there.
to
I mean,
project.
they may be there from 2 to 7 years.
And as long as Jonesboro knows that, then they won't budget for that.
But you're on that committee, aren't you?
Mhm.
So you can,
And
Mary Beth
and Whitney, all three of us, between us
Mrs.
three,
Moore
we can
just
make sure.
confirmed from Mr. Patrick, who is at a state facilities convention, that it is included in the current design of the building for the new Jonesboro Academy.
Mr. Meredith?
Just, and you may have said it and I didn't hear you because I'm trying to get up to speed on something. The cost on a per school basis for those 3 schools, just what's the incremental cost for the Jonesboro Elementary and Middle School, if you had to guess? And we're doing what? I mean, we're doing how many schools? Well, I guess the high schools are a lot bigger.
15 schools,
Pardon me?
15 schools.
You know, high school's gonna be a lot bigger, so they'll take the above average amount, so.
Do you know how many total units it'll be?
It's about, it was the last time we checked on it, when we were vacillated a little bit, but about 750 units altogether, system-wide.
So that equates a little less than 10,000 a unit. If it's 700 units at 686,000. Should, Mr. Fleener?
Make a motion, we accept the bid, 686, 491 from Energy Systems Group.
Second.
yeah, second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Miss Jennifer, roll call, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. Irvin, Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger,
Yes.
Mr. Fleener,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
Mr. Meredith,
Yes.
Mr. Masters.
Aye.
All approved.
Motion passes. All right, next is the approval to award bid for kitchen equipment at David Crockett High. Mr. Boyd?
Yes, sir. Same, you know, we have Thompson and Lynn here to answer any questions, but the bid was 197, and we recommend approval. It was one bidder. We do recommend approval as bid.
Mr. Meredith?
Just, are we paying for it out of general purpose school fund or the cafeteria fund or capital projects?
It was out of the cafeteria fund.
Okay.
Isn't that correct? Yes. Yeah, the last 9,000.
Okay.
So we had budgeted and approved by Hugh and the budget committee a certain amount in the commission to use those funds. It did exceed that amount, but we're going to address that with existing general purpose funds to close that gap. We have it, the budgeted, we have the amount available to us so that we can get this job moving forward and do what we need to do. We're covering the final $9,000.
Mr. Hammond?
I make a motion, we approve the bid.
Second.
Replacement, yes.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
What was the total on that, 197?
197, 928.
I just can't believe there wasn't no other bids. I mean, I know J.E. Green ain't gonna bid on kitchen equipment. They vote on tearing it out, but not putting it back, I wouldn't think. Are there nobody else that bids kitchen equipment? Putting in equipment?
I know that they're out there, and we put it out, we advertised it, and asked.
We actually made calls to about 6 different people, and we thought we were gonna have these 3 bids until bid day, and they said they were just covered up, they just
How
didn't
many
bid.
came?
I think 4 or 5 people came to pre-bid, different people, but this was all we had.
Huh.
It's probably just workload, able to handle the
The
work.
marketplace is full of them. And it's not that, it's labor resources.
Any more discussion? Ms. Jennifer, roll call, please.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Mr. Irvin.
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan.
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger.
Yes.
Mr. Fleener.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
Mr. Meredith.
Yes.
Mr. Masters.
Aye.
All approved.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is reject bids for doors and hardware at Sulphur Springs and Fall Branch Elementary. Mr. Boyd.
We, followed the process. This was on the board's radar early and gone through Hugh and Budget Committee. The amount that was approved originally using the Educational Capital Fund was approximately $400,000 less than what the bids came in at. So just because of that fact, just recommending rejection of the bids. And we move it to the next fiscal year, and we look at the budget and proceed in the next fiscal year.
Mr. Fleener.
Make a motion, we reject the bids for the doors and hardware at Sulphur Springs and Fall Branch.
Why was so that's the bids right there?
Yes, sir.
720 and 697?
Yes, sir.
We got a motion, we have a second. Second. Discussion, Mr. Irvin.
Okay. I just,
I think the scope of work, maybe in the original, when it was estimated, probably was legitimate.
I can't remember how much, Brad, what did we pay to get gray done? 300,000?
300,000.
Which?
The doors and windows, doors and
Hardware.
hardware.
Check on that.
Was it-
I don't
you said
have that off the top of my
300,000?
head.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds right, but I'd want to double check it before I go to.
And that's 2 schools right there at that price at 720
Yes, sir.
or 697?
697 was a low bid for the work of the two schools.
Well, that ain't too far off then.
The problem is the original estimates were 280 combined for both projects. So
There's a
that was-
$400,000 difference.
So, that was, I'm sorry, Mr. Boyd, I didn't mean to jump.
No, you jumped in.
But the original estimate, we were told when it was taken to the county commission was 140 per school. Now, I don't know where those numbers came from. but,
Where did them numbers come from?
I don't have the answer to that. They didn't come from me.
Because we did pay about 300,000 to do gray, right?
I'm going to have to check on that, but
Anybody else remember?
Yeah, but you gotta think Gray's a whole lot bigger school than Sulphur Springs. Probably combined,
I
them two
don't
would
know
be.
if they are or not.
Is that something we can hold off to next year?
Yes, I just, at this point, we don't have the funds unless the board.
Those are dollars that this board sent to the county to fund, the 280.
Yeah.
And so it came back much higher than that.
So just
Well,
rejecting the bids and.
But what I'm saying is, it was about 300 or something, I thought, at Gray. So that's 2 schools, so,
it would have to be taken back to the county, and the county would have to agree to allocate the additional funding out of the school's capital.
Out of the
projects.
capital
So,
projects, I
to
understand.
do it, what would have to happen.
So basically, if we reject, then we can turn around and make a motion to rebid it. Is that what I'm hearing? If we want to do it this fiscal year,
or get it started.
or get right?
Yeah, we would just roll it into FY '22 and we'd go through the process in FY '22.
Got a second? I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Ms. Jennifer, please.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Mr. Irvin. Ms. Buchanan.
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger.
Yes.
Mr. Fleener.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
Mr. Meredith.
Yes.
Mr. Masters.
Yes.
All approved.
Thank you.
Mr.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we find out
Put it
on
back out to bid.
what we paid on Gray, and then I'd like to take that back.
Rather than a motion, could you just get Mr. Hale to present that next
But-
board meeting
but
and then?
do we not need to act on this?
That's, what do you,
You just took action to reject it.
To reject the bid, but no, we're not,
We can rebid it with the intent of also, but we need to secure the funds first.
Well, then,
If,
do I need to make a motion that we secure the funds? Is that what I need to do?
I guess, I mean, my thought is we need, if you want to make a motion to take it back to the Hugh Committee with an estimate of what we have right there. I mean, I don't know.
What's everybody else feel like?
I think it's high.
Well, I'm looking at our agenda. I mean, we've got a set agenda right now, so where would that actually fall under this?
Well, it was on the agenda beforehand, and now it's getting thrown back. That's what I'm saying. Now, it was important 2 months ago or 3 months ago when we done it, and now it's not.
it's still important.
I know,
It's the
that's what I
process.
say,
Yes,
so
sir.
are we not gonna fix it?
I guess what you're asking, you're just asking, do we need to go ahead and start the process again to get it in front of the Hugh Committee? Is that-
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to fix it. It was important to do it. Now, it's not, so.
Well, we've rejected the bids, so you really have two different things that you're doing. You
Well,
have
and-
two different things you're doing here. One, you've got to go back to HEW and have that dollars allocated, and the other one is you have to have a bid number. I mean, we just rejected the bids, so I don't know what's right.
But could we take the low bid to the Hugh Committee and see what they say? I mean,
I mean, how long is with the bid? Is it a 30-day, 60-day? Are we still within that window?
It's gonna be close.
It'll be close. I think you could probably get in there. I'll just have to look. I can't remember right off when we took those.
It says 5-6, the bids were open as far as your all's bid tabulation.
so 5, 6, 6, 6, 7, 6, I mean, 2 weeks would be 60 days.
You got another week. Is that right? 60 days, 2 months, we did in June. In June, yes, so another week. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, got till next Friday. There you go.
Well, the Hugh Committee doesn't meet till, well, they don't meet,
Maybe sometime in
they
July.
canceled
now.
in July.
Oh, that's right, they did, didn't they? Whatever you want to do, Keith.
Well, I mean, boys, it was important 2 months ago when we done it. Now we know what it was gonna cost, and now we just gonna forget about it?
That would, the intent is not to forget about it, just trying to work the process.
I know, I understand, but
Do we need a motion?
Another option, and I certainly am open to criticism. You could rescind your motion, you could reverse the action and authorize us to accept the bids and use fund balance to address the work.
I want to use capital projects
I understand.
money.
Yes, sir.
That's what it's for.
Well, if we follow that process, we're gonna be probably not able to meet that deadline with this bid. We'd have to rebid.
But we got to secure the funds before we can put it out for bid though, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Why did we even bid it?
Because we thought it was 280.
Well, who come up with that figure?
That's what it was on that 10-year or 5-year plan or whatever, and that's what we
Well,
approved.
and everything has been higher than what we anticipated, just like, you know.
It came off of the sheet that was last October, I believe, possibly.
And it's been carried over for how many times? I mean,
I understand. Now, the way I look at this, do we want to put doors and window locks on, or do we want to fix them 2 schools with new doors and hardware?
I
Is
think
that
the
something
intent's
that this
yes.
board wants to do?
I think the intent's yes. What you're saying, what you're asking for, if you want the capital improvement money to pay for it, then there's no way that these bids, the only thing we can do is when we go into our workshop, is say we want to put an action item on there to ask the Hugh committee that we want 700,000 put towards, that stuff. And that way we have, we start that game, let's just call it a game, and in August, we'll finally, probably set it out for bid and September get it approved. But I think what you're wanting to do now, there is no way, unless you want to take it out of fund balance, if you're willing to pull it out and say, we want to put, we want to take J.E. Green for 697 out of fund balance, then that's the only play you have if you want to
Well, you
fix
got-
them now with this bid.
You got two choices, either take it out of fund balance now, or bring it up workshop. And take it
Well, I
back to
know
the
it's going,
committee.
I know it's going to fail, but my argument is, it was important 3 months ago when we done this, and now it's still important. So do we want to fix it?
I make a motion that we pull 697,000 out of fund balance to put door and door hardware at Fall Branch and Sulphur Springs School.
We have a motion, we have a second.
As a point of order, I think you need to rescind, if you're going to move forward with the bids, you need to rescind the rejection and accept the bids
Pay for it with fund balance.
first.
Chad, I can't support pulling it out of fund balance.
Okay, well, I mean,
Okay.
there's two options. I'm telling you, this is one option. The other option is the workshop is taking it back to Hugh, and that's fine. It
Well,
doesn't matter to
let's
me.
just wait and we'll take it back to you.
Mr. Meredith?
I think Director Boyd had the right idea as he was maneuvering this thing back through the process. And I think it really is just a matter of timing on when it's done. We're going to do this work. Do we do it in June or do we do it in July? There is some question about the bidding of it, but I can't imagine that bidding it, if they're not going to extend the bid past the 30th, which they may, you may be able to ask them to do that. It would give you plenty of time to get it done. So I would let the director just kind of work it the way he's going to work it.
Okay.
Do you think they'd be open to providing us additional time to extend the bid amount? And that would be the third option.
Okay. Next on the agenda is beverage vendor RFP, Mr. Boyd.
So if you want me to pursue that and we want to use this bid amount, I ask that you rescind the action on rejecting the bids, accept the bids, contingent upon me being able to negotiate an extension to go to the Hugh committee, go to the budget committee and secure additional funds under this bid. I know that's a mouthful, but if you rescind the rejection and then you accept the bids, contingent upon I can get an extension to the bid amount to make sure we can secure additional funds.
I'll do that.
You're gonna put that in
I'll
form of
put
a
that in
motion?
the form of a motion
Second.
to rescind the bid.
I think it'd be cleaner to do two different motions.
To rescind the bid.
Yes.
How much time, what time do you think we should have?
If we can get an additional 30 days.
60.
Yes.
Because the 30 didn't June.
Well, I think
They didn't have-
the mayor will work with us if we can
Okay.
go straight to budget committee, given that they've already approved this, but it's an additional amount.
We got a motion, do we have a second?
I made the motion.
Well, you and Keith both did, but
Yes.
one of you, but I don't have a
Second.
second yet.
Well, whoever, I'll second it.
Okay,
My question is, so the hardware was brought to us because it needed to be changed. Does it need to be changed because it's just time for it to be changed, or does it need to be changed because it's not working properly?
I'd say it's a combination, but it's really to update and get it to where it needs to be.
Depending on which addition or which area of the buildings we were looking at in both schools, there's cases where the hardware is just functionally wore out. There are places where the hinges and the doors are in bad shape, so, we can't put the new hardware on an old door, the door is failing, so there's places where we have things like that, where the doors are not in the best of condition. So we wanted to upgrade the doors and the front and the hardware. And then thirdly, you have the frame that the doors are in, and the frames are old wood frames, and they're starting to fail, so the whole thing is not in such
So
good
this-
condition. So it's a combination of things. And Keith, the difference was in some parts of the older schools are different than what we had at Gray. So there's several moving parts in that whole equation about what that bid price was and what that scope of work was when you compare Gray to Fall Branch or to Sulphur Springs. There's just different, we have.
I understand.
we have
I know
we
they're
have
older
old
schools and
transoms in
stuff.
places that nobody does transoms anymore. We're trying to figure out how to fill that in, so we had to use drywall and studs. Again, that didn't show up, that wasn't in Gray. So these are the kind of things that, to answer your question, it was just time to upgrade everything, so it's all the same, and the locks are the same, and your key cords are the same, and all that stuff works better and safer for the kids.
Okay, so with that being said, to me, that's a safety issue. We can't even have a lockdown if they can't lock the doors. And if the doors are that wobbly, they can be pushed in. So to me, that's a safety issue. So I think it needs to proceed.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, one more question though, on the bidding process, just curious, okay, we bid this, we've gotten bids back. Now, if we were to reject those bids and bid it again, essentially the same scope, number's gonna go up or down? They can go up.
I got your 30 days, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Any more discussion? Ms. Jennifer, will you read the motion back so everybody is clear on what they're voting on, please?
The first motion is to rescind the previous motion to reject the bids for the door hardware at Fall Branch and Sulphur Springs.
Did you want to add, or do we?
I don't, it wasn't a motion, it was an action.
Action,
So
yeah.
rescind the previous action,
Yes.
board action, to rescind it.
Everybody understand?
See.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. Irvin,
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger.
Yes.
Mr. Fleener.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
Mr. Meredith.
Yes.
Mr. Master.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd recommend you consider now accepting the bids and directing me to go to Hugh or the county to get the
I put that
additional
in the
funds.
form of a motion that we send the director to Hugh.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. Irvin,
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger,
Yes.
Mr. Fleener.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
Mr. Meredith,
Yes.
Mr. Masters.
Yes. Good.
Thank you.
All right, next is the beverage vendor RFP. Mr. Boyd?
Dr. Adams has led this. I'm going to let him give us the quick version.
Pepsi was the only bidder. Recommendation is that we accept that bid.
Thank you.
Is it the same contract as it was last time?
It's pretty much the same contract.
Anything different?
They're giving us an additional 50 cases per year of free product. And they are providing us 6 large Gatorade sideline kits annually, and those are valued at $7,200 a piece, and they're going to give us 6 of those a year. It's a kit, comes with the water bottles, the big Gatorade buckets.
Is that 3 and 3, or is middle school going to get any of that, or?
However,
I mean, I don't-
however we
I mean,
divvy that up.
Can I
Yeah,
get
go
back?
ahead.
So, the last time we did this, the athletic directors told me that what they had there would go down out to their middle schools, and the new ones would come to the high
High schools, 3 and
So
3.
I'm assuming that's what Danny and Josh would do again, because that's what they have normally done in the past.
I guess my only question is, did we have any money for scoreboards last time with Pepsi? I don't remember if we did or not.
Yeah,
Did-
They paid.
Did we use any of that since we replaced all the scoreboards this year?
we have.
Okay. So we did get the money for that?
Yeah, the problem is a decent scoreboard, depending on the size, ranges anywhere from $4,000 to almost $7,000.
Right.
So they're basically buying one a year for us.
Okay. Mr. Fleener?
Make a motion, we accept Pepsi's bid.
Got a motion, got a second. Any more discussion? Mr. Riddle, second. Roll call vote, please, Ms.
Mr.
Jennifer.
Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Aye.
All approved.
And then the last one is approval to award bid for milk and ice cream. Mr. Boyd?
If you have any questions, we recommend approval of the lowest bid.
Is that almond milk or anything, or soy? Is that?
No, sir, I don't believe that.
Better not be.
That was in the bid specs, no, sir.
Poor kids who can't have it.
Who got, put that back up there.
Mr. Fleener?
Make a motion, we accept Mayfield Dairy's bid for milk.
We got a motion and a second. Mr. Riddle, second that, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Aye.
All approved.
Thank you. Anything else?
There's one more.
We have the ice cream bid.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought they was together.
Yeah, it's through a cooperative purchase, our co-op program, so it's one bid. The low bid is $3,614.10.
Any recommendation?
I make a motion, we approve the low bidder, ice cream.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, that is Southern Appalachians, right?
Yes, Southern Appalachian Mountain Food Buying Co-op.
Mr.
Roll
Riddle,
call
how much
vote.
is it-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Buchanan.
How much is the difference? Like $100?
$24.
Mrs. Kite recommends working with this co-op.
What's the co-op? Okay.
Anything else? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
All approved.
Anything else? Meeting adjourned.
We're going to take a quick break. and then-
5-minute break and we'll start a workshop.